Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Jason Widdop here. We're on episode 3 now of By Marketers for Marketers, and I am joined by Korina Edwards. She is the new head of demand generation at Mattermade, an awesome agency. Korina, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and talk a little bit about Mattermade. We'll get started.
Yeah, so Korina Edwards. I work for Mattermade, running up demand gen there. We are a B2B marketing agency, working with companies that are kind of between the seed and A rounds, helping people scale, get to that first 10 million.
Nice. Yeah, and I know you obviously, and I've met Eli. And yeah, great thought, great strategies. They know how to do this. And so if I had a little bit more money, I would be I'd be partnering with you guys for sure. So again, and we've done this before, but not in the formal by marketers for marketers realm. And so I'm happy to do this again. We always have great conversations. Korina and I work together like as consultants. I worked with her at Lytics as a consultant when she was there, and she did a lot of marketing for us. Where do I work? I'm just kidding. Metadata. I'm like Mattermade metadata. I was like, wow, I work at Mattermade now.
Yeah.
For metadata. Woo, this is gonna be a tough one. And yeah, just an incredibly, I don't want to make you blush, incredibly bright marketing mind, like just amazing. Like some of the best ideas we've had in the last 6 months have been from Korina. So incredibly happy to have you on again. And today we are going to talk about social / relationship selling and marketing. And I say it that way because it's not really been super defined. So everybody's heard like social selling, and I think we kind of understand what that means a little bit. We'll talk about that. But we're starting to see, more of this happening in the marketing realm as well. And there's different flavors of it. And so we're going to try and tackle some of that today. So we'll start with just trying to put some definition around it. And so Korina, you want to take any of them, take social selling, take social marketing, relationship marketing, anything, and let's just try and put some definition behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things from here is like social is in every one of those. And I think that channel has just changed, right? So where that used to be a very personal thing, even on LinkedIn, it was like personal accomplishments, not really anybody talking about their company or where they, their products or providing any type of, not necessarily that everybody's pitching, but like, advocating for those brands. And so social selling to me is being behind a brand enough to recommend them to your friends, to recommend them to your network, right? I think today everyone's building their brands personally outside of their companies. And so being able to advocate for a brand comes with a certain amount of responsibility. Like, even though, some of the people that follow you might potentially be prospects, you still feel responsible to only, advocate for products that you would use yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think that's an important one. It's about there's nothing better really than a peer recommendation, right? Which is like why some of these sites like G2 and Capterra even really started, right? Because it's like, well, people want first and foremost to take advice from people they know, trust, and respect, because that basically gives them a leg up. If they're looking at two tools, basically, because we all know when we're getting pitched, like truly pitched, we're hearing like, I don't know, it's just like the best story ever, and it's never really like that. And so if you have two of these and they look the same on paper, which they oftentimes do when you're getting pitched, I'm gonna use the word pitch specifically, this is what can break that tie, easily break that tie. And we see it more, and it's not just in software, like business software. We want recommendations everywhere. You know what I mean? We want recommendations on who to hire from people that we trust. We want recommendations on the personal side, just like things we want to try. And so it's a big deal. It's throughout it's not just a B2B marketing. It's not just marketing. And so I think, so that's one way I think when I think about it, and I think about it maybe from kind of the relationship aspect a little bit more because of my background. I was in these larger companies in an ops role, usually as kind of the buyer. And so I'd be buying, I'd be making these big purchases, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it unless I had a good relationship with the person that was either the salesperson, the salesperson, the SDR, the AE, the company. And like, I wanted to make sure not just the people, but from a company standpoint too, does the company that we're going to do business with share similar values? Are we on like a level playing field? Like when we get on the phone together, do we hit it off? Do we have these conversations? And that became so important to me, because then I feel like if I have a relationship with somebody, they're not going to sell me something that's not going to work. Because then again, this is probably not always true, but I'm going to walk into it with the belief that, hey, if we have a relationship, then you're going to recommend to me the right thing for me. You're not going to just try and sell me something that you don't think is going to work, because that's going to tarnish the relationship. And my hope is that you value the relationship over the sale. And so that's kind of, when I think of social selling and social marketing, that's kind of the angle I'm thinking of it from.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that you have a relationship with the salesperson or the SDR, because, well, first of all, every salesperson ever is going to hear that and say, how can I build a relationship with my prospect to where they feel like we're at that much of a trusted relationship to where they feel like I would not steer them the wrong way. Because for me, it's like I would reach out to, for example, if I'm looking at Marketo versus HubSpot, I would reach out to somebody, I would reach out to you and say, hey, you've probably used both. I'm at this company and these are kind of the things I'm looking to do. What do you think? Because a lot of it too is associating like you are like me, or I know your brain works like me and we're the same type of function, or so that association there, because I feel like, when you're getting a sales pitch, it's always the best of everything. And it's never relative to, goals or even just really your company. So I'd love to hear your take on how you think a salesperson really builds that relationship.
Yeah, no, and to me, some of it is a function of time, right? So I can tell if somebody is in a rush to try and you know what I mean? Because it's like, either the very first couple of messages will be already about the product, you know what I mean? And features, and things like that before they even try and learn anything from me. So I think for me, the things that work for me, the only cold something that I'll respond to, are ones that have something personal about me that can't be automated. You know what I mean? So I know it's not just like, hello, Jason Widup. I see that you are the VP of marketing. You know what I mean? It's like, if it's...
Yeah, you want them to know that they put in the work.
Exactly. Because then, and so I got one not too long ago, and it was clear that they had watched a video of mine, and not just the very first, because it was like something in the middle of it, and like they added their take on it. And because of, and I don't know what they put in the very beginning to catch my attention, probably something related to it. In the subject line, I'm sure it was like something related to what they saw that would get my attention. And then I realized I put in the work. And then for me, and I think happens to most people, like the law of reciprocity, the whole also guilt. It's a little bit of guilt, but it's not guilt like in a bad way. It's like, maybe guilt's the wrong word. Yeah. It's more like, hey, they put in the time. They, like me, don't have a lot of time in their day. That had to take them 15, 20 minutes probably. So as a good human, in trying to, just be a good human being, for lack of anything else, yes, I will give you the time. You know what I mean? You put in that 20 minutes, I'll give you at least 20 minutes of my time, or, now I won't do it if the product is, I just know it's nothing. I don't want to lead them on or anything like that. But if it's or maybe not now, but I could see needing that sometime in the near future, or then it's those are the ones I go. And then after that, it's like the first call is we're getting to know each other. We're taking the first 5 or 10 minutes and we're literally, it's like, where do you live? You know what I mean? And they're not looking at the clock. They're not rushing me through to the demo. It's just like, it's natural. It's the building the relationship. And maybe we get to it. Maybe we talk about some of the challenges that I'm having, you know what I mean? And then what I love is even after that, and once we get into money conversations, if I can tell that they're trying to build, and these are for the bigger ticket items, they're trying to build in a package that's really fine-tuned, and they're taking stuff out that they know I'm not going to need. And I can just kind of feel that. like that's for me is like a perfect sales cycle.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the other day I received like a cold email, completely cold, and it was not a product that I would ever need at this stage of things, but it was like they had gone to my LinkedIn, saw that I had a personal website, went to my personal website, read my about me. There's like a line in my about me that's like very specific, and like called that out and was like, hey, congrats on your new position. Like, I see you want to be a CEO, like that's going to happen totally. And so it was like, wow, like you did your work. And it goes back to even where in marketing, it's like, you feel like we have this same conversation on the lead side of things where it's like the quality over the quantity. You can tell when an SDR pulled a Zoom info list of 10,000 people, put it into their sales loft and press play. Or you can tell where somebody really did the work to say, here are 50 people that I really feel like could use our product, and I'm going to do the work to, and then the confidence is exposed there because they've done their work. They know that you need this product or whatever. And so,
that's a great point. Like, and that's, I think we can't understate that one. It's like they have the confidence that they know because they've done the work. And I think that I have a feeling, I can't describe it in words, but like that, it allows you to say something with more conviction that's also going to be true. That'll also, I mean, it's almost like a two-sided, it's like it raises it on both sides. I can't find the words to describe it, but like it helps you. It's a double whammy. It's the best I can come up with.
It's a double whammy.
You get benefit on both sides of it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Today has not been my greatest day for words. I'll just be honest. And it's 3 p.m. I should have gotten there by now, but I didn't. And so, so I think because then, and then especially if you're right, then it's like, okay, and that's another one where I can, like, if I can tell they put in the work and it's not even something personal about me, but it's like so clear that they know that I'm a good fit and why I'm a good fit. So it's not just like, oh, you're a good fit, but why? That's another one. And when you can say that with confidence, like your conversion rate's going to go way up because they're going to just like they're going to be impressed, or it's like, how did you know that? And I want to, you know what I mean? And that's interesting. And so that's a good one too. So I want to get back to where you started, which was, you want ultimately to get the recommendation, right? You want people recommending it. So how do we get there? So we talked about, okay, on the social selling side, but how do we get to the place where it's, well, maybe let's talk about what that even looks like. Is it where you've got enough customers that are like, that have a voice and they're singing it? Or is it, do you not need that? Like, is it really about the product, and the product is so good that when people use it, they actually talk about it in the positive and they like go out of their way to talk about it? So how do we get to that point? Because that's maybe even more powerful than probably more powerful than the relationship stuff.
Yeah, I think so for example, I've had a lot of experience in the B2C side of things, right? And literally every B2C company is going to have an influencer marketing program, which is very much the same social selling. Like, you have these people who have built their networks, they've built their trust and relationships with these people. And as much as everything else in B2C is starting to find its way over to B2B, that I feel like that same thing is happening, right? It's like, people are building their networks. These people trust them. These people are only delivering value. And so I think a little bit, right? It's like, you have to have a good product. Think on the B2C side. You can't be like flat tummy tea. Like, if you're the influencer that's like delivering flat tummy tea, like, I'm not following you anymore. Right. So it's like, yes, like, oh God, no. 100%. Everybody that's watching this will know. Probably not. But like, same thing. Like, if you're, an influencer on LinkedIn, whatever you want to call yourself, if you've built a brand for yourself in that space, in the B2B space, and you just start promoting whatever, right? Like, I don't think we're at the place yet where people, and I don't know if this will ever happen, where people are getting compensated to like advocate for a product, because that kind of tarnishes, the value. But like you're getting to that place where like, imagine, you know, some of the people that we can think of, if they just started pitching any random product just to get themselves clout, but like wasn't actually a good product. Right. So I think
Yeah.
it's a combination of a couple things.
Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned like, I do know of somebody who's getting paid to literally only put a company on their LinkedIn, like as they work, that they had worked there, you know what I mean? Or that they're like an advisor there. Yeah. Yeah. And that they're not doing they don't have to do really anything else. They just
Yeah.
get paid to have that on there. Also, I heard, and this is funny, you say the BDC side, I just heard this, I don't know what it was, either a news article or something. Apparently, if you slap Ryan Reynolds' name on anything, it's like a multi-million-dollar money maker. Apparently, he's like puts his name on a vodka, and it just like gets sold to Seagram's, you know what I mean, and makes $150 million or whatever. But you said something that actually got me thinking about something new in a way that I hadn't thought before. You're talking about the trust, and you're like, if you're building trust as an influencer, you're kind of doing that because people are listening to you, right? And what's interesting, I hadn't thought of it in the way of like, I'm trying to build, I didn't think of it as building trust. I thought of it as like, I'm trying to be helpful. I'm trying to give people information. And the way I was thinking of it is I want them to think it's smart, and you know, that we're smart, and like maybe metadata is smart and come over. But what you said actually is way more important, which is I'm actually trying to build trust there, which I'm doing, because if I'm giving advice and recommendation that works, that builds trust, or that they're like, oh yeah, I agree with that, that builds trust. Because then I think it's actually the trust thing that's going to be more impactful to them than I'm just saying smart things. So it's actually the trust that I'm trying to go for, which is you put words to it. I hadn't even thought about it that way, but that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I think is like, you can trust me. I'm not going to steer you in the wrong way. And I'm not selling my product directly in what I'm talking about on LinkedIn, but you know, if you trust me, then you might actually come and take a look at the product and think like, why would he work for a place, you know, if I trust him, why would he work for a place that would be untrustworthy maybe, or even,
Yeah.
or have a product that would not, you know, that wouldn't work, for example, or,
Yeah. And
so
I
yeah, I
think
like that. Yeah.
it goes back to like knowing your audience, right? I feel like we've gotten so far away from like living and breathing. And I think it's different, you know, because you're a marketer selling to marketers. We both kind of are, but like, so you know the audience, right? And so really like you have to become, and it's the same, you know, old school thought leadership thing, but just in a different way. Like you're building your brand to make people trust you, and the things you're putting out make sense. They're smart, they're researched, they're not biased. And so then people build that. And so they know that whatever you put out there is going to be genuine. It's going to be legitimate. And I think we are going to get into this world where you start to see the money flow into this influencer marketing the same way that it has in B2C. And it's going to get muddy waters where you're not going to be able to know if somebody's really pitching something because they really believe in it, or if it's because they're getting paid, or, you know, whether that's money or other things. And so I'm calling that right now, but I think on this is like, so on the marketing side, there's that, but on the sales side, I think this is kind of new to them, right? Like as marketers, we've kind of always known we needed to like build our brand in whatever way that is. Right now it's like fancy on LinkedIn, but I think for salespeople, they've felt so like behind the curtains. And right now it's like, if you can establish yourself as a thought leader in whatever industry you're trying to sell. I mean, Danny Reed on your guys' team is like prime example of like, he's writing on LinkedIn things that make him known as somebody who understands your pain points. It's not something he copied over from like, here's our value props by Metadata, right? It's like, I know you, I understand your problems. And so that's where I think salespeople can really start to build that trust with their, you know, their audience, is like, know your shit, like spend the time to learn and understand what people are really struggling for. And it becomes genuine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. And I think the SDR role can be tough. You know what I mean? And I think, and just any sales role, like I'll just, you know, but the SDR role, like even more so. Oftentimes you're really young in your career, so you don't have a lot of this experience behind you to be a trusted advisor. And so I think it's even more incumbent on you, if you really want to do it well, like learn as much as you possibly can about that industry, about your customers, and about your product, but really more about the problems they're having, like you were saying, the empathize with them. You know what I mean? Get in their shoes, kind of feel what they feel as much as you can. I mean, it's hard. You're in a different role, maybe in a totally different industry, but that can be hard for a young SDR. And I think, let's talk about that a little bit. Cause like so here's how I feel. It's like, I'm older now, you know, I'm 44 now. I just had to think about that. So I have the luxury, and I've done marketing for 20 years. You know what I mean? So I have the luxury of having been there, done that. I have a lot of war stories. I've goddamn tons of scars. You know what I mean? I've worked in a lot of places, you know, and so I've got all that luxury. So, but what if you're younger in your career and you want to, like you and like everybody else, basically other than me, I'm just kidding.
Oh, stop.
But what if you're younger in your career, you don't have all that luxury of experience? Like, what kind of angles can you take? I mean, I think at that point, just like, how do you bridge that gap?
To me, any like SDR that's doing things like pulling a Zoom info list and plugging and playing on like an automation tool, exactly what you're saying, they don't have the experience or the knowledge. That to me is poor leadership. Like if you have a legit salesperson in a leadership role, they're going to guide you through that whole quality over quantity conversation. You're going to be gold differently. You're not going to be gold on activity. You're going to be gold on, you know, meetings held within your ICP. And so the same conversation on the marketing side where it's like, you know, well, why are marketers gating shit and why are they running plays like this? It comes down to leadership. And until that really changes, you know, it's like hard to change the, so.
It is. And man, we could talk about that. Oh man, we could talk about that all day. That's another good topic. Marketing, just leadership in general, that's lacking for sure. But it's not all people's faults. You know what I mean? I mean, it kind of is, but it's these big company cultures, I feel like, you know what I mean? That have like kind of ruined some stuff, but you know, I don't want to get upset right now. I'm just okay, so let's jump back now to kind of actually in both of these, some of the challenge is scaling it, right? So like there's this, and that's the same, it's the quantity versus quality conversation. It's the same thing. It's scale with automation versus less, but with like direct intent. It's like handwriting a note versus having a robotic quill do it all for you. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so you know, some people can't tell that the quill isn't you. You know what I mean? And so like you're making it through with some people. So how do we think about that? And there's do I automate some and just get more volume, which will trickle down and turn into something? Or do I really go, I'll call it just manual for the lack of a better term, and I focus in and I just really am creating, and the conversion rate's so high, but there's a fewer at the top of the funnel. Which of these result at the very bottom is going to result in the most revenue? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, so as much as I want to say it's always going to be the handwritten note, and bottom line, whichever is the most work is going to give you the best conversion rates. I think it'll never be at the point where just automating anything is going to, you know, give you the results you want from revenue level, but it depends on your industry. Cause I've worked in, you know, the commercial vehicle industry, which like they would not know, you know, whether it was handwritten or not, because in some sense, you know, not to sound whatever, but they are a little bit behind on like digital marketing, what that looks like for them. So
they don't even know that they might even know that's a possibility. You know what I mean?
Whereas like if you're marketing to, you know, director of operations for commercial vehicle transport companies, it's like read the room, right? But if you're also like marketing to MarTech leaders, and you're planning to send them again, hey, first name, you work at company, here's a box of chocolates. It's like, that's read the room. So like I feel like as marketing to marketers have the hardest job. And I will say that because I have been doing that. So it has to be the hardest job, but like, because we know all the tricks and it's really hard to impress us. But I think even in the commercial vehicle type industries, there's still a level of like if you're just automating everything because you're lazy and you're tracked on activity or leads, like don't feel great about what you're doing. I think it's like a happy medium of both. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of it, some of it depends on your ASP as well. So like, I think that's a big one. So like if you're $20,000 a year versus $100,000 a year, right? You
yeah.
still have an SDR, right? That's trying to carry that deal. And of course the $20,000, the sales cycle should be shorter. They should be able to handle more of those. But that may preclude them from being as high touch as they might even want to be, because they're like, well, even at a high quality touch and high quality lead, my ASP is so low, I still need a lot of these to make the number, whereas I've got not the luxury. I mean, a higher ticket item is harder to sell, right? And you're doing more to it, you're doing more with it, but you'd have more time to do I have 5 accounts that I need to close versus 20 accounts that I need to close with the lower ASP. And so and then you get even down further where you're starting to sell e-commerce. You know what I mean? You don't even have anybody in there. But like if you just get right above e-commerce, which is kind of where I feel like we are a little bit, we're just kind of like just a little bit out of the scope of where somebody would just be like ready to slap down a credit card and go, but we're, you know what I mean? And so it's still a person-to-person sale, and we still have contracts and things like that. But it's still a low enough where I don't know if Ashley, our SDR could, I don't know how much she can, and she does it, you know what I mean? But I don't know how much volume she can do of personalized outbound.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a mix in that case, which I don't want to, but it's like some personalized, some automated, you know what I mean, in that case.
I think if you're at that level where you're like right above e-commerce, your inbound to outbound activity should be way more heavily weighted on inbound. Like,
yeah.
So ideally, regardless of your
right.
ASP, your outbound quality should stay the same. It's just that if you have a really low ASP, your marketing team and that side of inbound needs to really level up there.
Yeah.
And then outbound quality can stay the same. It's where you see that problem of like, that doesn't happen. And then outbound gets crazy, and it's how do I get 100 customers in one quarter and not out of so, and then the same side, like on the $40,000, it's like, we're going to inbound a little less. Outbound's going to still have to be super high quality. And then the ratios just change.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Cause that's absolutely right. I mean, I think, cause then in that world, you're driving more inbound and they're just spending time working all that, you know what I mean? And just cause it's like, well, yeah, it's more easy to identify the intent probably in those cases from a marketer standpoint. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. What else? What topics did we not cover that you wanted to hit on? Anything?
Oh, I mean, I feel like we hit the spectrum.
Nice. Yeah, this is a good one. Cool. Well, yeah. We'll wrap it up then. I think, for me, I'm just starting to play in this, in lots of different areas. And so, but I'm really trying to take that. I still have like 2 things gated on the site, I think, just from timing perspective, trying to get it off, but trying to just create more of that, or trying to create less of a feeling that we're just trying to transact you. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to create and so we're doing a lot more social. We're trying to get more, not just me, but like the rest of the company. Gil our CEO is going to start a podcast, which I'm really looking forward to.
Nice.
Around category creators. So he's going to bring on like Goddard from G2 and Manny from Outreach and Mark Organ, Eloqua, these people that have like created categories, and he's just going to talk through like, what was that like? What was the challenges? So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But and so it's a big part of our strategy, and it's working. Like we are seeing it. I've really started posting more on LinkedIn when I took this job full time in April-ish. And I know it's working because we're getting so many like people coming in for and opportunities and demos, and they mention it. They're like, "Oh, I just love what your VP of marketing is saying. I'm connected with him on LinkedIn. I love what he's saying." Or the other one is I'll get people, because before this job, I pretty much knew most of the people in my LinkedIn network. I did, because I wasn't doing things where people would connect with me because they saw something I did. It was mostly just like, and I started getting our sales reps coming to me saying like, "Hey, do you know John Doe?" I was like, "Nope." And so then I was like, "Oh, I know that's working because they connected with me somehow because of something that I was doing or said or commented on, and then now they're in a deal cycle. And so anyway, so that's what we're doing. I'm excited about this way of kind of marketing, because I think it is, I don't know if it's the future, but it feels like the right way to be doing it for me. And so I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And I think last note is just, especially if you're in MarTech and you're marketing MarTech stuff, dog fooding your own product is like, if you're not doing that, that to me is like, I think whenever, if I have to buy MarTech and it's like, how are you using this product? What success have you seen? And then like, you guys are a great example of that. And also Drift, like they're a great example of that. And so that's kind of like that same trust thing. Like, you expect me to buy from you, but you're not even using your own product that's supposed to give you these outrageous results in 2 days, so like, same thing.
That'd be scary. That'd be scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what the excuse would be. Well, we're not in our own ICP. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Korina, thanks again for coming on with me. This is always fun for me, and hopefully you as well. And we'll do it again sometime. And so, and thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
All right.